So winter fly fishing has some unique challenges that you typically don't run into in other seasons, such as ice in the guides, fly selection is a little bit different, and fish tend to move into different water. So in today's video, we're going to walk you through how to overcome these challenges and also some other great tips to get you into more fish this winter. Let's get to it. Yeah! Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Cam with Streem Outdoors, where we bring you the best tips and techniques to improve your fly fishing skills. We do tons of gear reviews, vlogs, and how-to videos on our channel. So if you're new, consider subscribing. Also, at any point during the video, check the show notes down below in the description. We're gonna list everything that we use in today's video in those show notes so that you can reference them at any time. So tip number one, fish the warmest part of the day. There's no reason to get up at like 6 in the morning and be on the water. The water and the weather is just too cold. The fish are not very active. If you wait for the weather and the water to warm up just a few degrees, that can often trigger a lot more activity out throughout the fish. So focus on between like 11 and 4 in the afternoon. So because of the colder weather, the fish tend to have a lot lower metabolism, meaning they're not digesting their food as much and they just don't have much more of an appetite in the winter. So the fish are doing everything they can to conserve energy, laying low into the slower water, laying right on the bottom so they're not gonna be chasing your flies and they're not gonna be super active. So keep that in mind as you're going through winter and you're fly fishing in the winter. These fish are not gonna go after a dry fly like they are in the summer. So skip the shallow riffles, skip the faster water. Look for those slow, deep pools, side channels, seams, just the more softer water you can find. Those fish are gonna be hanging out right there. So most days in the winter, there's not a lot of bug activity. If there is some hatch, it's gonna be your midge. So typically the fishing is done with nymphing and streamer fishing. That's gonna be 90% of your fishing throughout the winter. If you do get a little bit warmer day, say above 30 degrees, you may find some midge activity. In that case, you could throw on a dry fly. One of my top dry flies for midge hatches are the suspended midge as well as the Griffith gnat in sizes like 18 to 22. Can't tell if it's a bow or a Rocky Mountain bone. Oh, it's a nice rainbow. Switched over to that egg pattern and we picked up a couple fish, so we're gonna keep fishing that. It's awesome little fish. See you, little buddy. So the next tip is to downsize your tippet. Now, if you find a midge hatch and you're fishing dry flies, I usually go down to like a 6X fluorocarbon. The reason for that is the fluorocarbon is a little bit more stealthy and the flows are generally a lot lower and clearer in the winter. So that way you're not going to be spooking the fish if you have some large tippet that you're using. And when I'm nymphing, I'll usually fish like a 5X or a 4X even. When nymphing in the wintertime, I usually use 2 flies if regulations allow. The reason for this is it just ups your odds of catching more fish. And when you're tying on your point fly, I love to throw on something a little bit bigger. One, it gets the fly down to the bottom, as well as it's a big attractor, something that catches the fish's attention. And then on my trailer fly, I'll use something a little bit smaller, a little bit more imitative, and the fish will usually look at the attractor and then go for something that's a little bit more natural. If you're not sure what river to target, I suggest looking at all your tailwaters. Again, anything that has a dam on it, that water out of the dam is going to be a lot more constant throughout the year. One, your water levels and your water temperatures are a lot more regulated as well. It's not going to ice up on you like your freestone would. And then your spring creeks and spring rivers, those are always a great option as well because they're not going to freeze. And then anytime you find any creeks or maybe even hot springs dumping into the river, sometimes the fish will go in and stack up in the river with that warmer water. So another tip to keep in mind is that the flows are going to be the lowest that they're going to be all year, and the water's typically a lot clearer. So as you move into a good spot, keep in mind that those fish are going to be a little bit weary They're gonna be a lot more suspicious of things, especially high. I typically like to kind of sneak into my different areas, especially if I'm wading in the water. When you're fishing temps below freezing, you're gonna run into ice in your guides, and it can be really frustrating. There's a couple different solutions that you can try. There's not like a permanent solution that I found that always works, but one thing you can try is simply just putting your rod in the water and giving it a little shake until that ice kind of loosens up. Obviously, you know, shake it off just a little bit so the the ice is not just gonna build up in your guides again. That way it allows you to get back into casting, give you a couple more drifts, and then you can keep doing that until hopefully it warms up a little bit. The next solution is to apply some of this Loon ice off stuff. You simply just apply it to the guides that are freezing up, and this does an awesome job. You're still gonna have to apply it probably every 15 or 20 minutes depending on how cold it is, but this allows you to make a lot more casts without the guides icing up on you. Another thing to keep in mind with your guides icing up is to minimize your casting. A lot of times it's the fly line or the water on the fly line that will typically bring ice into your guides. So if you can minimize your casting, either doing like a simple roll cast or not casting as far, then that really helps out a ton. Also consider Euro nymphing. A lot of times Euro nymphing, you don't really have the fly line that goes through the guides and you're doing a lot of short casts. So that's another great way to kind of minimize the ice in the guides. I hope you found these tips to be helpful. Try them out this winter and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We also wanted to thank every one of you for following our channel and following us along on our adventures. We want to give back by giving away one of our fly rods. It's the Rift 10-foot 3-weight. It's one of our absolute go-tos, especially during the winter months. So all you need to do to enter the giveaway is to leave a comment below with your favorite fly pattern that you like to use during the winter. That will get you entered, and we will see you in our next video.